Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
Good evening, our fellow lovers out there, and welcome to those of you who are listening to us in Sacramento on KUBU 96.5 FM. I want to thank you for joining us. All right, this week on Late Night Love, we delve into the depths of Queen Victoria's eternal mournings, and we also explore the complexities of modern relationships and, work and all those various other issues that we cover every night. But in this episode, we're going to start with, wow, I've just butchered that whole internal opening. I should have rewritten that. Anyway, so join us for an episode that promises to be enlightening as it is entertaining, filled with heartfelt advice, candid stories, and a touch of humor to lighten your load this evening. So tune in to Late Night Love, where we unravel the intricacies. Hey, I can say that tonight. That's pretty good.
Yay!
Of love, life, and everything in between. Normally those things, that one will trip me up. But tonight we're starting with Queen Victoria, something I know you particularly like because you watch the miniseries often enough.
I've watched the miniseries. There's a movie. There's more than one movie.
Yes, but her eternal mourning is actually
one on Netflix.
Yeah, the eternal mourning is what we're talking about here. Her deep love for her husband, after his death, she always wore black, at least when she was seen publicly. And, I'm not entirely sure she would always wear black, always. I'm assuming at some point in private, she would put on something more colorful on occasion. But she was always publicly seen wearing black. She mourned him. She kept a shrine, a room as a shrine for him.
Yes, she did.
Until she passed away.
And she kept it as he left it.
Yeah, it's that type of deep love they had for each other, despite all their passions, their various disagreements, so we say, so we call them. It's it's a tragic tale of love, at how even in you can be the most powerful woman in the world, but yet real life can't escape real life.
No,
you cannot escape real life. So his burial site at St. Mildred's Whippingham, a beautiful hallowed spot for Victoria. Her courtiers found the spot morbid, but they were essential as she became older.
She had she journaled a lot, and she had what they called a mausoleum book.
Yeah,
she became a little obsessed.
Yeah, a little upset, and that's the danger, right? Of loving that deeply, is you don't know how to let go, even when you should, or you don't. Because letting go doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means you can move on. You're not letting go of the love. You're letting go of being chained. I think we confuse that, and rightfully so. We can, especially, you're going to confuse that for a while, and you probably should. But at some point, you have to let go, right, in order to truly move on. And she could never truly move on.
No, she couldn't.
So,
and it influenced the society. And they had mourning attire and jewelry.
Yeah, well, we still wear black.
Mm-hmm.
It still has a resonance to this day.
And it was later described as the cult of mourning.
And this is what's interesting, is that Albert's loss led her to request that her funeral was like her wedding, entirely in white. She was dressed in the white bridal veil, the departure from the traditional black mourning attire.
Well, she was going to go see him again.
Yeah.
She was ready.
I guess. But, this is one of my personal things. I just can't see why anybody would care what the heck you're wearing. You're dead by the time they put you on the ground. You're already done and gone.
Well, it's how they want to be seen.
Yeah, but you're already gone by the time you get.
So what do you care?
Right.
Right? Is your point.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that she cared then. It's she cared what was going to happen in the future.
I understand that, but she's already in her future by the time they get around to putting her in the ground. Is all I'm saying. She's already off and done. She's already off and met him, and she's off in her eternal happiness.
But she wanted a vision of how she looked.
That's great, but it doesn't matter because she's already off engaging in her vision. So how they actually did it is irrelevant, is my point. Because whatever. Anyway, we've gone off the rails on that one, but I just don't know. That's just me because the 6-7 days. Oh God, these are
Personally, I really don't care. By the way, you can dress me in something nice from my closet.
That's your
Let
girls.
my girls pick it out.
That's your girl. The funerals are for the living. It's always been my view perspective. So your children get to kind of decide what they need to do.
I'm like you. I'm not that picky.
Yeah.
I just want to be cremated.
It's already been.
After you're done with the viewing and all that kind of stuff, don't bury me, please.
Yeah. All I want to be done is I don't care. Just don't give me the science. I don't want to be poked and prodded when I'm done.
Well, that'll be up to your children if they want to.
Yeah. So
do
whatever they want to do.
Whatever they, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And the state funeral, just for information.
I just want your hairbrush.
No. Okay.
I want your hairbrush.
No.
Why can't I have your hairbrush? I asked for one thing.
Man, because I don't want to be cloned. Okay, so
I'm not gonna clone you. I want to touch your head.
I don't want to be cloned. All right. So the state funeral of Victoria.
I'm gonna take a sniff of your hair.
Would you let me move on? The state funeral of Queen Victoria took place on February 2nd, 1901, in St. George's Chapel, Windsor Castle. It had been 64 years since the last burial of monarch. Ending an era.
64 years.
Yeah.
She reigned.
Yeah, that's so that's one of those most famous examples of love that we can think of. Yeah. Love has been spoken about by poets and authors and philosophers and writers and comedians and whatever since the beginning, average human beings since the beginning of time. So over the next few weeks, months, we'll be talking about some of these quotes and thoughts and philosophers. I think is a good way to open our shows for a little while.
That sounds great.
All right. So, but now that we're done with that, we are moving on to our normal questions. We're starting off to this week with relationships, it looks like. All right. So what do we got tonight, my love? Oh, wait, look what I forgot to do because we're all off. And just so everybody knows, we are actually pre-recording this because Lovey is often off enjoying her birthday this week. So you can find us at latenightLove.us, or you can send your letters, questions, comments to love@latenightLove.us. As always, and please do the like, subscribe, share thing. Okay. So what do we got tonight, love?
Well, we're going to start with relationship questions. Now, this one sounds like a parenting, but it's really not. My husband is frustrated with me because he thinks I'm not feeding our babies adequately because I had to switch to formula. He refuses to help with feeds at night. How can I find a compromise with him?
this is probably one of these things that should have happened before you decided to switch. You should have brought him along your journey with you on your journey in the decision to switch. I have a suspicion, and I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, then he'll just have to get over it. But if my suspicions are correct, what she did is she took her time, however long it was, days, if it's still a baby drinking formula, days, maybe a week, to come to this conclusion. And then she informed him about it. And so he had all his emotions came out at once. All his reactions came out at once, rather than the days of the journey she got.
Yeah.
And so what he needs is some time. And in the future, when these kind of decisions need to be made, yes, you get to make the decision, but bring your partner along so they understand it by the time you get to it. Or if you've already gotten to it, you're going to have to bring them along the same path you went so they understand the process you went through. Because the reality is, while statistics say, babies generally do better with, breastfeeding, not all babies do better with breastfeeding. So the trick isn't to follow the statistics. The trick is to know which ones yours is, which cases you are. Some babies do better under formula. And if your baby happens to be one of those who will do better under formula, then by all means, give your baby formula. And part of that is if you're not comfortable, because there's 100 reasons why formula is a better answer on an individual cases, right? Maybe she has trouble producing enough milk. Maybe it's overly painful and she can't take it. Maybe her milk isn't.
Maybe the baby is not processing it well.
Well, yeah, there's 100 things. Maybe she's having a hormone imbalance and her milk isn't nutritious enough. There's 1,000 legitimate reasons, right? And it's none of our business, but it is his. Now, he doesn't get the ultimate say, but you can bring him along with your journey. Right? And that way he's not slapped with it in the face that here we're doing this now. If you want to partner in raising your children, you start with it now. Now, they're mid to late 20s. My guess is first baby, you're going to have these kind of mistakes, and it's fine. Now, if it's the other way around, you did try to explain this to him and he hasn't been hearing you, well, then he needs to man up and accept these things and spend some time thinking about it. But I have a suspicion that it was more of an informal. I informed him of my decision rather than, after some thought and consultation and discussion with my husband, we decided, he was reluctant, but he accepted it. That's what will usually happen if you have these things, if you have a rational discussion with these things, normally speaking. Now, some of us are crass and unreasonable. It's possible, but my guess. Okay, what's next?
My husband had an explosive argument with my parents. Where do we go from here?
Nowhere. Sometimes these things happen and you just let them be, and depending upon what it was about and whatnot. Sometimes arguments just need to happen and there's nothing to resolve. Nothing to do. You just let them be. Life's like that sometimes. Not everything's always going to be smooth sailing. Now, again, it depends on details, right? If you're yelling at each other over something, who knows? Without knowing exactly what it is or what it's about, it's hard to know.
Mm-hmm. She didn't really say.
Which means it probably
because she just feels bad because her parents are old. They're 70 and 69.
Yeah.
And how are they going to do?
Well,
is he still going to visit them? Is he going to come along for visits still? I mean, what's going to happen?
Let it sit for a little while and then go back and address it with your husband. Just let it sit for a little while. Not everything needs to be resolved immediately, but without knowing what the details are. And, 69 and 70 isn't necessarily as old as it used to be. It's just not. I get it while it makes you uncomfortable because you feel like you're in this middle ground, right? She still feels like she's in no man's land. That's understandable. And it's an uncomfortable place to be, so don't be there. You have no reason to be there. I suspect it's just one of those things that tends to happen. Frustrations over something that's always been there is boiled over, and it'll go back to normal over time. Just saying. Most of the time, these things aren't as big of a deal as they are, right? They just kind of happen. Okay, what's next? And it would be a lot easier if she'd have told me if you had some idea what the argument is about, or details. So okay.
Am I right to be mad that my boyfriend just showed up and let himself into my apartment, waking me up?
Well, it depends. You give him a key? If you gave him a key, you've kind of given him the thing to enter. It also depends kind of why, but it really kind of depends upon how the boundaries of your relationship, right? I don't know what boundaries you have previously set, and maybe there's a misunderstanding of boundaries, which is entirely possible. But so I don't know if you're right to be mad or not. You're going to have to examine the boundaries you have set, or maybe it's time to set new ones, or it's time to find a new boyfriend. I don't know, but that's about boundaries and expectations, and clearly they're not clear. So clear them up. Okay.
I got excited while carrying a friend on my back. Now it's awkward. What can I do about it?
Okay, first, this is a 22-year-old male carrying a 21-year-old female on his back, and now my question is, he's awkward or is
he feels it's awkward?
Yeah, just because you're just going to get over it. That's my thing. At 22, you get boners because the wind blows, so don't overly worry about it. It's not a reflection of you as a human being. It's a reflection of biology. Don't worry about it, and your body will stop responding to it. That's how it works. Yeah. Your body will follow your head. It just takes a little time. Yeah, no, that's what 22-year-old men have to go through, right? It just is. Deal with it's the cross you have to bear. It just is. Hey, man, we shouldn't really complain about our own things because we each have you guys have to have your thing.
We have a period.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody has this thing they have to deal with. Is one worse or better than the others? I suspect the grass is always greener. So whichever things you're getting, the other one's going to be better until you're the one having to deal with those other things. It's just, nature's a cruel mistress. All right, what's next?
Okay, my wife doesn't appreciate my bees. I'm considering divorce. What should I do?
What do you mean? So
by day he's an accountant.
And by night he's a beekeeper.
He's a beekeeper. He has a bee colony that he's very passionate about.
Okay.
And she just doesn't want to hear about it at all.
Okay.
And this is his passion.
Okay, but you can't, when you have a really narrow niche passion, you can't expect those who even love you deeply to have the same passion for that. Does she get in the way? Is my question. Does she allow you to do it? Does she humor you? Just, fine, go off and do your hobby. I'm not interested, because how people who are highly invested in their hobby, maybe it's not that she's not interested. Maybe she just won't shut the heck up about it. And she's just tired of hearing about bees all the time. right? She'd rather hear about accounting at this point, would be my guess. So, maybe there's a bit of a look in the mirror we can do at this point. Maybe you are overburdening her with your talk of bees. Maybe you should find, a community of beekeepers and have those discussions with them. So when you're with your wife, you can talk about friends, family, movies, food, all the other things that she's likely missing from you because you want to talk about bees. And she likely supports your hobby. She just doesn't want to hear about it. Fine, go do your hobby. Knock yourself out. Have fun with it. I just don't want to hear about it anymore. That's what she doesn't. You can't expect her to be as passionate about it. So my guess is find a community of bees and
beekeepers.
Of beekeepers, and or bee enthusiasts and whatnot. Talk with them.
Don't tell me there's not something on the web.
Create a YouTube channel and maybe have her help you on the technical side of the YouTube channel. Who knows? But for the love of God, maybe it's talk to her about other things. Talk to her about accounting, right? And she'd be more interested in talking to you than the bees at this point. You've just overdone her thing on bees. She's just tired of it. It's all it is. So no, don't divorce your wife because of bees. Reconfigure what your expectations from her, and then reconnect with her on other things, please. She's earned it. Okay, what's next?
Okay, my girlfriend is upset that I ordered my ex flowers for Mother's Day. How do I keep the peace? Okay, the ex they haven't been together for 15 years. She's the mother of his only two girls, only two children.
How old are the children?
They're grown.
Okay. Well, grown enough, right? Teenagers, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because they're only 39. How grown can they be? Okay. Don't send your ex flowers on Mother's Day. That's how you keep the peace. If the children were still young, okay, fine, because you're actually doing it so the children maintain the tradition. I get it. Whether I agree with it or not is the thing. I get it. It's reasonable. But once they're teenagers and can do that things yourselves, you give the children money so they can buy their mother presents. That's what you do.
The thing is, they're best of friends now.
Doesn't matter.
She did a fantastic job raising the kids, and he wanted to show his appreciation.
That's fine. I get that. But you have that discussion and you do it on a different day in a different way. You bring, again, we go back to the earlier discussion. You bring your new girlfriend with you on that journey of why you want to do it. And you include your kids. That way it's about the family, the unit. That's what it was. Which is why it's okay for you to give money to your children so they can buy their mother something for Mother's Day. But it's the same thing. No, it's really not. Because for them, it's about the relationship it's maintaining the family relationships. It's not about giving your ex flowers. It maintains the purity of the thought while also respecting the feelings of your current partner, which is important. Okay, what's next?
Okay, this one. My girlfriend got a secret tattoo of her ex's name. I'm devastated and I don't know how to handle this. Should I confront her or stay quiet? Okay, this guy went on and on about how much he was in love with this girl.
It's a secret tattoo before or after they were together? Or was it this?
After. This tattoo is recent.
Then get yourself a new girlfriend. Because whether she knows it or not, she has not disconnected herself from the emotions of her previous relationship. Now, there could be some legitimate reason, but you should know that it's actually the secret. Maybe he saved her life one time or something, maybe that's why they were together, and, maybe saved her from drowning, like, and something, kind of got in love. And so she wants to remember at least who knows? There could be a legitimate reason. It's the secret that's the problem, right?
Yeah. Again, bringing someone along
Again,
on your
this
journey.
seems to be a theme today. I don't know how that happened, but bring someone along the journey so they're not surprised. You get to control what you do with your body. I completely agree. But you bringing your partner along with the journeys on these major decisions. It's how partnerships work. You still get the final say, but you want to respect your partner as much as possible in those processes. So I'm just saying. So you've got to deal with it, but my guess is the deal with it is hasn't actually let go of the relationship. Unless there's right, again, there could be a legitimate reason why she wants it, but she shouldn't have kept it secret. And she's 28, he's 30. They should know by now. All right. They're right at the edge where you should know better. Okay. What we got next? We're on to parenting questions.
9-year-old sneaks into the living room to watch TV at night. What do I do?
Okay, here's my question. Does he get up and do his things as rest of his routine? Does it interfere with his routine? You may just have a night owl. It may have nothing to do with the TV itself. It may just be he can't sleep at that hour, so he goes and finds something to do.
Quiet.
Yeah, so as long as he's being quiet and not destructive, I personally have a tendency to turn a blind eye to these things. If I catch them in the act, of course you say go to bed and you send them to bed, but you don't always catch them even when you do. You strategically catch them. All right, I'm going to leave them out there for 45 minutes or an hour or whatever, and then I'm going to go catch them. He's being quiet, whatever. Maybe he's going to fall asleep watching TV. I'll just leave him alone. Now, if that's what happens a lot, he's falling asleep while he's watching TV, then there's a different sleep strategy you may want to consider. And that's a difficult one for parents and whatnot, whether you when and where, if you put a TV or a tablet or something in the room. I'm not going to give whether it's a good idea or not, but different sleep habits may be in order of some form.
Okay, yeah.
And there's no right or wrong answer to this. It's just, again, I always say, pick your battles. You're going to have enough fights with kids, and don't try to fight their nature. So if they're a natural night owl, try to work with it instead of against it. Or he may be taking a nap during the afternoon, and you're just going to have to cut that out. It's the other way to deal with it. If he's taking naps, stop it. He's too old.
No more naps.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I love naps, So if it's interfering with his daily schedule, then you have to be more strict than if it's not. But yeah. Okay. What's next?
Why is the older generation determined to prove that something's wrong with the kids of today? Now, these are parents of teenagers, and they think their kids are fantastic. Their kids are pretty high achievers, by the way.
Yeah.
So they don't, and they're tired of hearing about it.
Well, that means they're not talking about your kids. Statistically speaking, and if I had read the questions beforehand, I would have pulled some of these up. Our kids today are suffering from more mental health and anxiety issues and stress issues than any previous generation as recorded. So be clear with that. Previous generations may have had just as much anxiety or mental health issues, and we ignored them, and we now know them. So I always, we're just better at catching these things now. So I always want to leave that caveat. And every generation, older generation, has always, since the beginning of time, complained about the younger generations. It is a story as old as we can go find in recorded history, right? From the tablets of ancient Greece to writings in ancient Egypt. It just
It's true. I've read some of them.
they're it's the same thing.
Or I've read the interpretation of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same thing since all of humanity. And part of the reason is because for the world that the older generation grew up in, something is wrong with them. What older generations forget is that we no longer live in the world that they grew up in. And so the life strategies that they needed may or may not be as effective. The trick is to know which ones are. Right? Because there's some things that are universal. There's some things that rarely change throughout time. Right? If you dedicate yourself, you work hard, and you focus on fulfilling the needs of others, you can have a successful life. This is true. It's been true throughout the course of history, course of time. Is it always true? No. Sometimes bad luck can happen. You can live in a place where a hurricane hits, right, and have everything you built swept away in an hour. But it gives you the best chance. So I don't know why. Because we're human. To specifically answer the question of why is because we're human. It's part of our nature. And if your kids are fine, then they're not talking about yours. They look out today and they see kids, protesting at colleges for reasons that they can't even explain. And you're going, well, we didn't do that when we were young. We knew why we were there. No, you didn't. Go back and listen to some of those things you guys were saying at some of those, you didn't know what you were doing any more than these kids do. You guys turned out okay. You'll be all right. Give them time. It's my suggestion. It's the bigger answer. All right. What do we have next?
How do people afford multiple children and save for retirement?
Well, realistically, you save for retirement after your children are grown out of the house, basically. But multiple children aren't really all that much more expensive than a single child. It's not like the expense doubles. There's some cost savings you get along the way. So it's not quite exponential growth of costs, and you just do it, right? And maybe you don't save for retirement, but that's okay too. Maybe you plan to die before you're done. That's that's someone's retirement plan. Maybe your retirement plan is to raise successful children so they can take care of you. Who knows what none of those are necessarily good plans, but it's plans. So mostly people just do it. Just like we've gone through this whole concept of retirement is a relatively new concept. Throughout all of history, your savings for retirement has really been saving for a homestead. So when you're done working, you have someplace that you can go. That was saving for retirement. So, and you can live off of what you can make, rent any land to a peasant farmer and grow in the garden. Was most people's retirement. Anything else of that, because you didn't live long enough for retirement back in the day, right? So retirement really has only existed since we've started to live past 50. And that's a relatively recent thing. So, yeah, we don't know about retirement because we're
I
human.
remember seeing the picture of the lady who got the first retirement check.
Yeah.
Saw a picture. She was standing on her porch with her knitting.
Yeah, I remember retirement, a spell at Social Security, it was really meant to be so old ladies whose husbands were were deceased and could no longer provide for them wouldn't go be out and out on the street homeless and starving. It's really what Social Security was for. It was never meant as a retirement program. It was supplemental income for those fundamentally rare cases, and now we treat it as something for everybody, which is why it's half break up. But that's a whole completely other discussion. Okay, what's next?
Stuck in the loop. Hey, kid, don't do it. I said don't do it. I said don't do it, God damn it.
Okay, so what's the context?
Okay. Things like cooking.
Uh-huh.
And it's hot.
Yeah.
And they're messing around.
Yeah.
Don't touch it. Don't
Yeah.
touch it. Don't touch it. It's hot. It's boiling. Get away from there. Get out of the kitchen. Get out.
This is one of these things where you need to allow children to learn their lessons in less dangerous environments. So when it comes to more dangerous environments, they've already learned. We overprotect our children. They need to learn that failure hurts. That's how it's just how everybody learns, right? We learn by doing, we learn by failing. And when you're a kid, what not to do, it's just, we can tell them how many children have you raised? How often have you had to tell them until they're blue in the face until they actually did that thing? Well, I told you, you don't get no sympathy from me.
What's really fun is when you tell them 50 times and then grandma tells them once and they said, do you know what grandma said? And you're like, did you actually tell my mother that you didn't know that I didn't tell you that? Is that what you're telling me? That I didn't tell you that just yesterday.
My kids know that they got no sympathy if I had told them you shouldn't do that. And then they went and did it anyway. And yeah. No kidding. They get no sympathy from me. Don't worry, I'll take care of them, but they're not getting no sympathy during the process. Hey, that's how they learn. Sorry. Stupid should hurt. Just
stupid should hurt.
Hey, sometimes life teaches the best lessons. But I also agree when you're talking about things like the kitchen, it's a different thing, which is why you let them learn their lessons in other places so that when they go into the kitchen, they know to listen. So again, it's, boundaries. You put them, they learn the lessons in safer areas, not on the kitchen stove. Okay, what's next?
How to teach children not to put finger in doorways. In the door jamb when the door.
Yes. This is how.
And there too.
This is how you do it. Okay, there's. You take a hot dog, you stick it in the door, and close the door. Show them what happens.
Ooh.
They need to see. When you're 2 or 3, they need to see. Because you can tell them till they're blue in the face. They're not going to comprehend. They need to see.
That's pretty freaking smart. You know that?
Yeah. Well, my kids, Anthony learned the hard way. So yeah. That was a trip to the hospital. So yeah. Yeah. So yeah, you show them is how you teach them. So use a hot dog or a pencil, depending upon, even though pencils can damage the door. So, but yeah, you show them. Okay.
Okay. I don't know if I can get it through this one. Are kids still sneaking out in 2024?
It could be 2024 BC and kids would still be sneaking out. Yes. There's the answer to that. Of course, kids would still sneaking out in 2024. It's because they're kids and they want to go hang out with their friends. And there's something about being teenagers and wanting to stay up late and have the ability to stay up late. It just is. and and it's taboo and blah blah blah. We can go on for all the reasons kids like to sneak out, and it's just what they do. It's the time honored tradition. You know, we have damaged screens because of that in our house. So, like, they thought I was going to buy any of the other stories. Okay, what do we got next?
White shirt for daughter.
Oh, what do you mean?
Okay. She's in a on a soccer team and they have a white shirt and mom's afraid and she's pre-adolescent.
Uh-huh.
So she's starting to develop.
Uh-huh.
And mom's afraid that if she starts sweating, it's this white shirt that's gonna become kind of transparent and her body will be shown. Now the girl doesn't want to wear a bra. So what I suggest you get some of those they're like a sports bra, but they come down further. And they're elastic. They're very, very light. They're kind of like a camisole.
The soccer uniform tops for women have already thought of this. Just go look at the young ladies playing in white shirts now. Are they see-through? No, they're not. So it's just buy high quality shirt. It's my suggestion. You don't need to go through all kind of conjunctions. This is not a new problem. This is not a unique problem. People have thought of this and the market has delivered solutions. So just go buy the proper shirt. That's it. I understand the concern. I really do. But they have products for this. It's called shirts that don't do that. So just go buy a proper soccer shirt, white soccer top for your daughter, and there is no problem. But get her comfortable wearing a sports bra now is the other thing. Have her wear it now before she. My suggestion.
There's some very stretchy ones.
Yeah, get one that's a little even, maybe that's too big. So it's not, but she's going to need to, as an athlete, she's going to need to get comfortable with them at some point. The sooner you start, the better off she's going to be because she'll find the kind, brand, style, cut, whatever, all those various things she likes. The sooner she starts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I don't even know much about girls, and I know that. So, okay. So we got work questions next. What do we got, love?
Is it normal that the project manager and the technical manager had zero knowledge about the technology they're implementing in their projects?
Well, project managers more so than technical managers. Yes. Because project managers often don't need to know at all what's going on the technical side. That's not their job. They've got most technical managers to do that. Right? Is this stuff getting done? Yes. Okay. Is this stuff getting done? Yes. Okay. Is this stuff getting done? No. What's the hang up? And you work through the hang up issues. That's what project managers do. So they have too many, oars and too many different things to know about the very small details of technology. Now, technical managers, by their very nature, are supposed to work on one specific part of the project. And so they should have at least some knowledge about the technology they are trying to implement. They won't have the knowledge of the person who uses it day to day because they have a bigger oversight, right? They're one, maybe two steps back from that, maybe even three, but they should still know what it does. But, they shouldn't have to know like a programming language or anything like that. But they should know what it does and they should be able to use it as a basic user, maybe even a basic admin, assuming on the various technical. So, but, is it normal? Sadly, it's far more normal than you think. But oftentimes it's more normal because there's no one actually there who knows enough to do the project. So you hire someone who's good at overall managing a project and you're hoping that they can learn the technology as they go along. And if they're good, they can. I knew nothing about running a radio station when I started, but yet I managed to figure it all out because I had all the other skills that were required. So, is it ideal? No. But is it normal? Well, yeah, because it's the number of people with that specific of a knowledge is probably not high. So when there's that knowledge isn't high, you got to train somebody. And, and how do you train somebody? By doing it. All right, what do we got next?
How worried should I be? Employer is ending the employee loan fund. She works for a nonprofit.
Oh, they probably just don't have the money. Should you be worried long term? If you work for a nonprofit, you should always be worried long term. Nonprofits can end on a dime. It's just they can lose their main funder. Funded requirement if they're getting grants from whatever grant requirements can change, and you know they can decide that they just want to do something different now, and you're out in the cold. So if you are a nonprofit, you should always have your one eye somewhere else. It can be another nonprofit, don't get me wrong, but you should always have another eye somewhere else. Or at least have knowing that your job could end in a budget year easily. Okay, what's next?
What's a good job for lazy people?
Nighttime security guard in an office building.
Thank you.
There you go. That's a good job for lazy people.
Okay.
That another one. Well, if you can get through the education, school teachers, because once you get through the right, all you have to do is not be awful, and you can keep your job. So that kind of thing. And it depends what you mean by lazy. If you're just physically lazy, you can do telephone customer service, even though those jobs are getting outsourced to AI. But how about this? You're never going to be successful in anything by being lazy. You're just not. Now, maybe you're okay with that, which is okay. I don't have a problem with it. Just be clear. Don't come complaining to anybody later that you're not successful in life when you're also saying, what's the laziest job I can do? I'm just saying. Now, Bill Gates has a saying. He says, find a lazy man to do a difficult job. And the reason is because he'll find the easiest way to do it. But the trick is he's not as lazy as you think. He'll still do the job. He'll actually figure out the easiest way to do the job. So he's not as lazy as you think. He's just conserving energy. So I don't think that's lazy. I don't think the person who's going to figure out the easiest way to do a job is being lazy. He's just being efficient. I think lazy is the wrong word for that, but it is a saying. Okay.
Okay. Moving jobs. Want to take some files with me. Is that legal or not?
It depends. If you're like a journalist, most of the time you can take your files with you. If you're a technical engineer somewhere, probably not. While I would never recommend that someone, take their work home or make digital copies so you can work from home and it just happens to keep those copies from home would never be a solution to this type of problem. But because it could cause legal issues in the future. Some of those could be company property. It could involve intellectual property, and you could find yourself in deep trouble later on. Or it could be stuff nobody cares about because you're just referencing work you've done and a process you've created for yourself, and it's nobody's business but yours. Who's to know? So be very, very careful in how you move forward. Right?
All right.
Okay.
Changing terms of a shift after agreeing. Okay, now what they're doing is making him a supervisor. But they're not competent. He had no idea, and he doesn't feel he's being paid enough to do something like that.
Then you tell them no. If they're not going to change your compensation, then you tell them no. Now, sometimes compensation can come in other things. doesn't have to necessarily be cash. It can be flexibility. It can be freedom. You no longer have someone poking over your head. Now, the question you have to answer yourself, is it worth it? Maybe it's you get health care and nobody else does. You don't get paid more in cash, but now you get health care coverage. Who knows? But, of course, if you're in California and you've now raised the minimum wage, and you've had to give everybody else a raise and you're not going to get one simply because that's the way it works. So be lucky you're not getting fired. So you can say no, by the way. A work relationship is a relationship. Now, like any other relationship, so you can say no. But if you're going to say no, go out and make sure you have another job in your pocket. At least one that makes similar money, even if it's not one you want long term. Or, theoretically. But I would say no. But I also never cared if they fired me. I'll just go find something else. So, but most people will tell you don't be overly aggressive unless you have an option. But my suggestion is say no. Okay, next. Sorry, I'm repeating myself like 80 times there.
Okay, why would a current manager check out my profile on LinkedIn?
Because they're on LinkedIn and we're bored. Is the same reason you check any other buddy's profile on LinkedIn. You were there, you're bored. LinkedIn may have actually given them somebody you may know, right? I get all kinds of requests, for network connections from people I know, right? From LinkedIn. They just show me people I work with. Hey, this person works there. This person works there. And so he may have just gotten one of those and clicked on it. Don't worry about it. Don't post things that you care about. You don't post things on LinkedIn that you're going to care about employers not seeing anyway. So don't worry about it. LinkedIn's not that place. It's not like Twitter where you post, you can go on flame rants. It's meant for business to business communication and networking. So people don't post risky things on there. It's all business stuff. So don't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah. If you keep your LinkedIn professional like it's supposed to be, you don't have any problems with it. But my guess is it was showing him this thing that says, this person works at your thing. Do you want to network with them? And he probably rightfully said, no, I don't. Because, it gets awkward if you get laid off. Okay, what's next?
Okay. Is 5 days off sick over 16 months too much?
No.
They got their hours cut. Because they said,
well,
too much sick time.
Well, what they were doing is they needed excuses to cut hours because people hours were getting cut. And so they used a bunch of arbitrary.
Aha.
Yeah. Because my guess is over 16 months, those 5 days off were part of probably your paid time off, which it means it's not. So if all those were covered by paid time off, then it's clearly not, right? So, and over 16 months, 5 days off, yeah, that's more than plenty. So, is it too much? No, but the reality is you were getting your hours cut anyway. They just told you it was over your sick time. So the question is, go find another job because that one's not going to be there much longer. Again, especially if you're in California and working in the fast food industry, they're looking for reasons to get rid of you because they can no longer afford you because the state has made it impossible. So, all right, what's next?
What are the consequences of being too good at your job? Can you get fired for it?
Yes, because you might actually be too expensive for them to keep. If it's a small company and their job in the marketplace is low-end products, low-end things, and they have to keep costs low because that's the only way that you can compete is with low costs, and you are a top performing employee, and they can no longer afford to keep you around because you're going to go as soon as you get a better offer, which you will, the minute you start looking for it. The consequent, but in a sense, that's their role in the economy. is to give you your chance to prove yourself so you can go off somewhere else where you're valued. The other consequences of being good at your job is that your coworkers may not like you very much because you make them look bad. It happens a lot in union workshops, places. You're outperforming everybody else. Makes them look bad. If everybody else is doing 50 orders a day and you're sitting there packing in 90 every day, hey, back off, buddy. Come on, you're making us look bad here. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah. So
Happened to my mother.
happens all the time. I just sorry, I work at the pace I work. Y'all, it is what it is. Yeah. I don't always get liked very much. So I just work at the pace I work. If it's fast, it's fast. If it's slow, it's slow. It is what it happens to be. So, all right. So, are we? Yeah. Hey, we're long enough. All right. So we can go on to
Intimacy question.
all right.
Okay, my girlfriend's dad walked in on us, and things are weird.
Mm.
How do I get past this?
You wait. It's the only way. I'm assuming they're all adults, and it was just
No, they're 19.
well, then they're all adults.
They're adults, yeah, but I mean, barely. They're still teenagers.
Yeah,
So
look,
this
they're
is
all
devastating.
they're
you
all
know?
adults. Well, it's devastatingly embarrassing, yes. And trust me, her dad doesn't like it any more than you do. So let sleeping dogs lie.
And do not mention it.
Yeah. You memory hole that thing because he's trying to bleach it himself. So do never, ever bring it up again. I would suggest just kind of be invisible for a couple weeks. Just out of sight, out of mind. Just make it as easy as possible. You don't have to, but it wouldn't hurt.
Be nice to him.
Yeah. Because, trust me, he's got the same, things are weird. Yeah, it's just weird. And all time is the only thing that's going to make that less weird. Okay.
Boyfriend's preference for big boob is making it hard for me to feel intimacy during sex. Advice?
So she's a smaller lady.
She's a smaller lady, and she knows he's not aroused by this. And so it weighs on her mind.
Okay, women.
And she's hyper focused on it.
I know, and that's actually probably the far bigger issue because what you have to understand is men's preferences doesn't mean we don't like the others. It just means if someone has a preference for strawberry milk, it doesn't mean they don't like chocolate milk. It just means they have a preference for strawberry milk. Chocolate milk can be just fine.
That's a good one.
You know what I mean? It's not like they don't like yours. It's just in an ideal world, yeah, but he likes you. So it's not, don't worry about it. Is my answer to those questions. And I know it's hard, especially for younger women, but to make that distinction that, it's like you have your own preferences, but then does your boyfriend meet up to those? Does he have the abs of Chris Hemsworth or whatever these guys? No, of course he doesn't. You'd like those abs that you see on the movies. Of course you would. Does he have those? No, of course he doesn't. And are you okay with that? Of course you are. So it's okay.
What are you talking about? You had the body of a Greek god.
Yeah, but only because Greek gods were fat. That's the only reason. Okay, what's next?
Okay. My boyfriend wants me to watch him jerk off. That's all he wants to do. He doesn't want to do other stuff. He wants to, he prefers that. I mean, he will do intercourse, but he's got a real kink for being watched.
Well, if you guys aren't connected, then you're not connected. would be my actually. If you,
Yeah, she's
sometimes there are some things that are deal breakers, and sometimes they're not very big, right? Sometimes they don't feel like they're very big. They feel like a necessarily small thing. But if it's
this is pretty major.
I wouldn't call it major, but it is one of those things that can easily be a deal breaker.
You're talking about intimacy.
Yes, but like I said, it's
lack of intimacy is a major thing.
Yes, well, yeah,
Yeah.
but you can regain that intimacy in many ways.
You can,
but
he's not making the effort. He's
yeah,
wants this most of the time.
yeah, and well, which it's nice to want things. It builds character when you don't get it. And my suggestion is this is one of these things where he's just going to have to learn compromise, and the only way for him to do that is likely for him to lose a relationship over it, or until you find somebody who enjoys that thing, which is the other solution for him. But if it's not her, she doesn't have to put up with it. Now the question is, does she like everything else about him? Because you can, if the person checks 99 of your boxes and this is the only one they don't, what do you do? You've got 100 boxes on your checklist. Checks 99 of them. This is the only check box that's not checked. What do you do? I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer. I'm just saying that's something to contemplate.
It's a major.
So, I don't know. I would personally find it hard in other circumstances. I would find some way to work through it if it was 99 to 1. But, I don't know the calculations there.
Yeah.
Is he at 51? That's a different discussion. If you're, so how fulfilling is the rest of the relationship is the question. Okay. What is next?
What do people do after they finish on a girl?
Well, kind of generally depends. Usually hopefully you have a towel. It's one way. It's good for the skin if you want to use it as a massage oil. But then you both got to take showers after that. But it's good for the skin if you wanted to do that. So
that's only if it's swallowed.
What? No, it's good. No, it's good as a skin ointment. But again, you have to go take a shower afterwards. But it's good as a skin ointment. Just saying. All right, what's next?
How do you tell a guy you never orgasmed?
You just tell him. Now, women are actually different than men. Women can actually, because of the way we're programmed, women can not actually orgasm and still enjoy sex more than men can without.
Oh yeah,
it's
definitely. We could have a hours-long session and not orgasm and have it feel satisfied.
Yeah, and men, for whatever reason, it's more difficult for us to get into the mind space to do that. It's something hardwired. It's a cruel thing. Like we said earlier in the show, how Mother Nature's a cruel mistress. Mother Nature's a really because we are so sexually incompatible as species. It's it's amazing we've managed to procreate to 8 billion people or whatever the heck it is now. It's insane. So you just tell them, because it may be you may actually have a very unique combination of things that makes you orgasm, and it may be, shall we say, unreasonable to expect somebody else to understand how to unlock it, right? Some people are easy, other people aren't, and it's just the way the world works sometimes. Life ain't fair. It's just not. And not all of us are,
Isn't there? There is a certain percentage. I don't know what it is, but I remember it's rather large. Shockingly, of women who don't orgasm. Never have.
Yeah.
They never do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their wires aren't wired properly. It can happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And the interesting thing is, since they don't really miss it because they've never had it to miss.
Yeah.
So that's a strange thing about life. Okay, last question for the night.
Last questions? I thought we had two.
Oh, yep. No, I missed one.
My girlfriend has been an absolute freak with everyone she's dated and slept with except for me. She said that she was promiscuous and
Mhm.
she was left unfulfilled.
Yes, because
So now she is after intimacy. And he wants the freak.
well, you're not going to get it. She's been there, done that, and she went through that phase, and now she's looking for something more. Now, after you build a relationship, you may get some of that freak again, but in a more constrained, deeper way, or maybe not. It's just the way it is. But she's been through that. She knows how, if that's the goal, how unfulfilling that is.
Yeah.
So she's not going to do that again. If you want a fulfilling relationship with this woman, you accept that, and at some point, the things she genuinely enjoyed will come back out.
They will.
Now, the question is, how much of that did she genuinely enjoy, even on some level? Right? She accepted the consequence of the lifestyle she was leading. Ours was deeper than the reward she was getting from it. Right? But at some point, she'll understand it wasn't the acts themselves, it was the searching for fulfillment in a superficial way was the problem. But you can either be a part of that journey or not. You don't have to be, right? There's no requirement for you to be a part of that journey, but you have to allow her to go on it. That would mean you'd go your own ways. Or you accept her past for what it is and your futures for what it may or may not be. No one knows what your future is. You never get what the person, what anybody was, because they're not that person anymore, regardless. You're just not. So, you either accept it or you don't. That's the answer to that one. Okay.
Is there any quiet sex positions that live with her parents?
Well, I guess. Well, anything can be quiet if you do it
Slowly enough.
Yeah, or on a floor, something that doesn't make noise.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Get a room, just if you really want to have some fun. Don't know what to tell you. All right, that's it for me and Lovey tonight. Well, thank you for joining us with us. We will see you again next week. Please remember to love everybody and have a good night.
Good night.